What have I done? I deserve a good Opway and not this cripple. I'm tired of this marriage. I do everything and you just sit around.
They said love conquers all, but nobody warned her about marriage exhaustion. She was young, curvy, and full of life. Weeks after her wedding, her husband became disabled. She gave everything: her body, her youth, her strength. Nobody tells you this part of marriage. One minute you're a Gen Z bride, next minute life hits hard, and one choice sends everything off track. Welcome to Folktales by Chisom, where real life meets real lessons. Sit tight, relax, and let's begin. The music was loud, the laughter louder. Plates clashed, glasses clinked, and the MC's voice boomed across the open wedding hall in Surulere. Kemi stood at the center of it all, young, glowing, and breathtaking. Her dress hugged her perfectly, her hips full and confident, her smile bright with the kind of hope only new love brings. She was Gen Z, bold and beautiful, and she believed love would carry her anywhere. Her husband, Kunle, held her hand tightly, as if the moment would slip away if he loosened his grip. He had waited years for this day. He wasn't rich, but he was steady. He wasn't flashy, but he loved deeply, and when he looked at Kemi, he saw his entire future. They danced like nothing else existed. Nobody knew that within weeks, everything would fall apart. The accident happened on a rainy Tuesday morning. Kunle had just left for work, promising to bring home suya in the evening. Kemi had teased him, reminding him they still needed to buy curtains for the new apartment. She watched him leave, barefoot at the door, humming softly. That was the last normal moment of her life. By noon, her phone wouldn't stop ringing. By evening, she was sitting on a hospital floor, her wedding ring cold against her trembling fingers. Kunle didn't die, but the doctors said the word that changed everything. Paralyzed. Marriage became something else entirely. Kemi learned how to lift a grown man with shaking arms. She learned how to clean wounds, change bed sheets, push wheelchairs through narrow corridors, and smile at visitors who pitied her. She learned how to swallow tears when bills arrived, and how to beg for extensions she had never imagined needing. She worked longer hours, she slept less, she aged faster. Sex disappeared quietly, like a light switched off in a room no one talked about anymore. Intimacy became hospital visits, medication schedules, and constant exhaustion. Kunle noticed the distance, but he couldn't fix it. He hated himself for needing her so much. And Kemi, once admired, once desired, started feeling invisible. Lagos did not slow down for her pain. Friends stopped calling, wedding photos stopped being posted, invitations dried up. Every time she pushed Kunle's wheelchair through crowded streets, she felt eyes on her. Not admiration, but sympathy. Pity can crush a young woman faster than poverty. At night, when Kunle slept, Kemi would stare at the ceiling and ask herself questions she was ashamed to admit. Is this my life now? Is this how it ends? Then one evening, everything changed. She met him at a traffic stop. A black SUV, tinted windows, music low but confident. When the window rolled down, the man smiled like someone who had never struggled a day in his life. "You're beautiful," he said casually. Not sorry, not you're strong, not God will help you, just beautiful. And for the first time in years, Kemi felt seen. The man in the black SUV did not ask for Kemi's number that first day. He only smiled, nodded once, and drove off when traffic moved. But his words stayed. You are beautiful. Not you are strong. Not God will reward you. Not sorry about your husband. beautiful. That night, as Kemi washed Kunle's clothes by hand, her mind replayed the moment again and again. The ease in the stranger's voice, the confidence, the way he looked at her, not with pity, but desire. She hated herself for remembering it. 2 days later, she saw the SUV again. Same junction, same time. This time, the window rolled down fully. "My name is Dami," he said. "I see you here often." Kemi hesitated. Lagos taught women to be careful, but loneliness is louder than caution. "Kemi?" she replied quietly. Dami smiled. "You don't look like someone life has treated fairly." Something in her chest cracked. Their conversation started small. Good mornings at the junction, short chats about traffic, weather, Lagos stress. Dami never asked about Kunle directly. He never rushed. He listened. He noticed things. He noticed how tired her eyes were, how her clothes had lost their brightness, how she always rushed home. One evening, he offered to drop her off. "I don't bite," he said lightly. She almost said no. Almost. Inside the SUV, everything smelled like comfort. Leather seats, faint cologne, quiet music. Kemi hadn't felt that calm in years. As they drove, Dami talked about business, investments, travel. A different Lagos, a softer one. "You deserve rest, oh," he said casually. "You're too young to carry the world." Those words sank deep. At home, Kunle noticed the change. Kemi still cared for him, fed him, bathed him, pushed him to appointments, but something was missing. Her laughter had faded, her patience thinned. She sighed more, stayed longer in the bathroom, checked her phone often. "Kemi," Kunle said one night, his voice gentle. "Are you okay?" She forced a smile. "I'm just tired." It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth. Bills kept coming. Hospital expenses, rent, food, transportation. Kemi's salary barely survived the month. One afternoon, when a landlord's reminder message popped up, she broke down crying in the kitchen. Her phone buzzed. "Dami? Rough day? Let me help you relax." He sent her money for dinner. She stared at the alert for a long time before using it. That night, she ate hot food without counting the cost, and guilt tasted bitter on her tongue. The visits became more frequent. Dami started picking her up just to talk, buying her clothes she hadn't worn in years, complimenting her body openly now, her curves, her hips, her glow returning slowly. "You are wasting here," he told her once. "You are meant for more than struggle." Meanwhile, Kunle watched his world slipping away, powerless to stop it. The breaking point came on a humid afternoon. Kunle needed help bathing. Kemi was exhausted, sweating, arms shaking as she lifted him. He apologized again and again, shame heavy in his voice. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't plan this." Something snapped. "Do you think I planned this?" she shouted. The silence afterwards was heavy. That night, she didn't come home early, and Lagos watched quietly as Kemi stood at the edge of a decision that would change everything. The first time Kemi didn't come home, Kunle told himself not to panic. Traffic, he reasoned. Lagos was cruel like that. Maybe she stayed late at work. Maybe she was just tired of the endless routine and needed air. But when midnight came and her phone stayed off, fear crept in quietly. Kunle lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the ceiling fan click and groan. He hated the sound of his own thoughts, hated the helplessness of being unable to move, unable to check on the woman who had become his entire world. By morning, he knew something had changed. Kemi returned the next day wearing a different version of herself. Her hair was done, her skin glowed, her clothes were new, soft fabric, expensive scent. She avoided Kunle's eyes as she moved around the room, arranging things that didn't need arranging. "You didn't come home," Kunle said quietly. She shrugged. "I stayed with a friend." He wanted to ask which friend. He didn't. The next day, Dami didn't pretend anymore. He took Kemi to places she had only seen online: rooftop lounges, quiet beach houses, restaurants where menus didn't have prices. He introduced her to a world where bills were paid for before they arrived. "You don't have to suffer," he said, resting his hand on her waist. "Life is meant to be enjoyed." She didn't stop him. And in moments of weakness, she forgot the man waiting at home, trapped in a body that refused to obey him. The rumors started soon after. A neighbor saw Kemi step out of the black SUV. A cousin noticed her new phone. Whispers followed her through the compound like shadows. One afternoon, Kunle overheard two women talking outside. "She's too young to be pushing wheelchair every day. Lagos big boy don't catch her." Their laughter cut deep. Kunle said nothing. That night, he cried silently. The confrontation came unexpectedly. Dami showed up at Kemi's workplace, confident and unapologetic. Colleagues stared as he hugged her openly, his expensive watch glinting under the office lights. Kemi froze. Kunle had followed her. Sitting in his wheelchair, watching his wife wrapped in another man's arms, Kunle felt something break beyond repair. "Kemi?" he called softly. The office went silent. Dami stepped back, eyes narrowing. "Who is this?" "My husband," Kemi said. The words sounded heavy in her mouth. The ride home was silent. When they got inside, Kunle spoke first. "If you are tired, say it. If you want to leave, say it. Don't turn me into a fool." Kemi exploded. "I didn't sign up for this," she shouted. "I'm young. I want to live." Kunle nodded slowly. "Then go." Her anger faltered. "Go," he repeated, "but don't pretend you are forced." She packed that night. Not much, just the things that made her feel like herself again. At the door, she hesitated. Kunle looked at her one last time. "I hope Lagos gives you everything you think you are losing here." She left. The house felt emptier than silence. Kunle sat alone, heart heavy, but something inside him hardened. Not bitterness, but resolve. As for Kemi, sitting in Dami's car, excitement drowned out guilt. She didn't look back. She didn't know that walking away was only the beginning of a much longer journey, one Lagos would make her pay for dearly. Lagos welcomed Kemi like a dream at first. Dami moved her into a fully furnished apartment on the island. Clean floors, tall mirrors, constant power, and air that smelled like money. For the first time in years, Kemi slept without alarms, without hospital schedules, without aching arms. No wheelchairs, no medications, no apologies. She posted less, but smiled more. At first, Dami was generous. Money came easily. Shopping sprees, salon visits, brunches with women who spoke in confidence and laughed loudly. Kemi's body returned to itself. Her curves filled out again. Her glow returned. Men noticed her everywhere. "You see," Dami would say, "this is where you belong." But comfort has a way of hiding warnings. The first red flag came quietly. Kemi wanted to visit her mother one weekend. Dami frowned. "Why?" he asked. "She misses me," Kemi replied. "You don't need that village stress anymore." She laughed it off. The second red flag came louder. She asked about his business. Dami waved it away. "Don't worry your pretty head." The third came with a slap of reality. One evening, after questioning his late return, Dami snapped. "You ask too many questions," he said coldly. "Don't forget who pays the bills here." Kemi froze. The softness she had chased shifted shape. Meanwhile, Kunle's life moved in silence. After Kemi left, neighbors expected him to fall apart. He didn't. He sold the apartment they once shared and moved closer to a rehabilitation center. A physiotherapist pushed him harder than anyone ever had. The pain was brutal, progress was slow, but Kunle welcomed it. Pain meant effort, effort meant hope. Through online work and quiet support from an old friend, Kunle began earning again. His body still failed him, but his mind sharpened. And slowly, the world responded. Back on the island, Kemi felt trapped. Dami became controlling. Phone checks, curfews, subtle insults masked as jokes. "You should thank God I picked you. Who else would want baggage like you?" The words sank deep. When she suggested working, Dami laughed. "For what? So you feel important." The soft life had rules. The fall came suddenly. One afternoon, Dami disappeared. No calls, no messages, no money. By evening, the apartment lights went out. The landlord knocked the next day. "Madam, your rent is overdue." Kemi's heart dropped. She tried calling Dami again. Blocked. Just like that, the dream collapsed. Kemi packed what she could carry. Lagos had chewed her up and moved on. As she boarded a bus back to the mainland, her phone buzzed with a message she never expected to see. "Kunle, I heard you needed help." Her fingers trembled. For the first time in years, regret arrived, not loudly, but with a quiet weight she couldn't escape.
Kemi read Kunle's message over and over again. "I heard you needed help." There was no anger in the words, no accusation, just calm. That calm frightened her more than insults ever could. She didn't reply immediately. Pride still lingered, weak but stubborn. She told herself she would figure things out alone. Lagos, after all, had taught her survival. But reality hit fast and hard. By the third night, she was sleeping on a friend's floor. By the fifth, the friend stopped returning her calls. By the seventh, hunger followed her like a shadow. Soft life doesn't teach endurance. When Kemi finally showed up at Kunle's new place, she barely recognized it. The compound was quiet, clean, organized, a far cry from the cramped apartment she had left behind. She stood at the gate, uncertain, heart pounding. Kunle opened the door himself, still in a wheelchair, but different. His shoulders were broader, his eyes steadier. There was confidence in his posture she had never seen before. "Kemi," he said evenly. She swallowed. "Kunle?" They stared at each other, years of silence hanging between them. Inside, nothing screamed luxury, but everything spoke of peace. Kunle had help now, a caregiver, a schedule, stability. "I didn't come to stay," Kemi said, quickly. I needed help." Kunle nodded. "Sit." She noticed how he moved, still limited, but controlled, purposeful. "I heard things didn't work out," he said. That's one way to put it. Kunle didn't ask her to explain. He had already healed in places she didn't expect. Instead, he told her his story, how he learned new skills online, how a friend connected him to a tech startup that valued his mind, not his legs, how therapy slowly returned sensation he once believed was gone forever. "I won't lie," he said. "Some days are hard, but I'm no longer stuck." The words landed hard. Kemi stayed a week, then 2. She helped around the house, cooked, cleaned. The roles reversed subtly, painfully, but Kunle never crossed boundaries, never raised hope, never reopened wounds. One afternoon, she overheard a phone call. "Yes, I'll be at the conference next month. Lagos or Abuja works." Conference. The man she once pushed through hospital corridors now spoke of flights and meetings. Regret burned deeply. The truth came out on a rainy evening. "I didn't leave because you were disabled," Kemi said suddenly. "I left because I was tired, because I felt invisible." Kunle looked at her for a long time. "I know," he said, "but love stays. It doesn't run." Tears fell freely. For the first time, Kemi truly understood what she had lost.
Kemi did not sleep that night. She lay awake on the thin mattress in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft hum of the generator outside. The silence felt heavier than noise. Every memory returned, every complaint, every moment she had sighed in frustration while Kunle apologized for things he could not control. Back then, she thought she was drowning. Now she realized she had been standing on solid ground and chose to jump into fire. Morning came gently. Kunle was already awake, typing on his laptop, focused and calm. The caregiver moved around quietly, efficient and respectful. Everything in the house ran on routine and intention, nothing chaotic, nothing desperate. This was the life Kemi once held together with her hands and walked away from. "I'll be leaving today," she said softly. Kunle looked up. "Where will you go?" She hesitated. "I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out." He nodded. "You always do." There was no bitterness in his voice. That hurt more than anger ever could. Before she left, Kunle asked her to sit. "I didn't help you because I wanted you back," he said carefully. "I helped because once upon a time you were my wife, and because bitterness would only chain me to the past." Kemi's lips trembled. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "not just for leaving, but for staying long enough to resent you." Kunle breathed deeply. "I forgive you," he said, "but forgiveness doesn't rewind life." Those words closed a door gently, but permanently. Months passed. Kemi rebuilt slowly. She took a modest job, moved into a small room, learned humility the hard way. Lagos no longer applauded her beauty. Men no longer opened doors simply because of her curves or youth. For the first time, she stood alone, with no one to rescue her. And that was the lesson. One afternoon, scrolling online, she saw Kunle's photo. He was on a stage, speaking confidently at a tech conference, still seated, still disabled, but powerful. Applause frozen mid-frame, purpose shining through his eyes. She smiled through tears. Some people don't rise despite pain. They rise because of it. Kemi never tried to return. She carried the story quietly, telling young women when they complained about hardship, about marriage, about patience. Love isn't tested in comfort. It's tested when staying is harder than leaving. And somewhere in Lagos, two lives continued, separate, changed, wiser. Regret had spoken. Growth had answered. Moral lesson: not every burden is a punishment. Some are assignments. And not every soft life is freedom. Some are traps in disguise. What you abandon in impatience may rise without you.